this is Victor, and here with a new tip or small tutorial to explain or to share with you when I consider that I have to assemble a miniature and when I think it's better not to assemble, paint separately, and then finalize the paint job later. So let's look some examples that I have here, and this can be reapplied to different type of miniatures. I'm using now my Stonecast Eternals as examples, but you will see that there are several examples similar to these ones. So the first example is when we have like this guy that the weapon or something is crossing the armor, and especially in that case, yeah, the arrow is very thin, so you will see most of the bottom part of the armor once it's assembled, if you can see here. Okay, so you see that. So in order to facilitate the work, what I do in this case is I paint fully the armor, I do all the highlights, I do everything, and then I will assemble that. But on the case of the arm, I will assemble as it is. I will just do a wash on the brown part and gold, but I will not do more work on the hand. Why? Because once it's assembled, most of the details are not going to be visible. So it's good that you do the shade, you do the base colors, but you don't do all the highlights, because the highlights will work better once you have everything assembled and you can see holistically how everything is looking like. So this is the first tip. When the weapon is crossing the body, try to paint them separately, as you can see here. Okay. Another example is when we have something like this thing, okay, that is hanging from somewhere of the miniature and may difficult the work of other parts, or is partially covering something. This goes here, for example. So it will be very difficult to work all these, to work also the purple thing. So what I do in that case is I don't assemble that. I just leave it alone. I will do also the washes here. I will not do the highlights. I will do the highlights when it's assembled. But to be fair, I will do also this part of the arrow and this part. So this is another example. This part, sorry, is covering partially part. Will make the work difficult. It's better to paint the body. It's better to do the base colors to this part and then assemble them together. So these are some tips to show you. And to be fair, to play, you can glue this with some glue tack or something like that, something that is removable, and you don't need to put this at the back, at the beginning, so you just keep it on the sprue or separate it. The same for the shoulder pads. The shoulder pads, I want to be sure that I reach this part here with the gold very easily. I'm trimming these shoulder pads with gold. This is not even, this is not that critical, because this can be painted quite easily assembled, but not having the shoulder pads here is helping me to paint all this around, and then I can put the shoulder pads later if I want. Okay, so yeah, just some tips. But if you can see, other parts, the legs with the body and all these parts, I assemble them. Even the arms are not blocking anything in that position, so you can assemble these arms, and it will, in that case, it's better to assemble, because then you can see how the parts are matching together. Because when the risk when you paint the parts separately is that you can lose a little bit of the holistic view of the miniature, so you don't see how everything is combining together. The head is a thing that, to be fair, this can be painted assembled, but the head is one of the most important things of the miniature. It's one of the parts that you want to apply more detail, and one of the parts that you want to focus more work. So why I keep separated? Because in that way I can reach the head very easily. I recommend use this technique. Put the head on a pin, and then you will have a good grip. Okay, and I can paint the head super easily before assemble that. I can do all the detail, nothing is blocking me, and then I just glue the head together. So some tips. If I look other miniatures, let me show you other cases. This guy here, you can see the shot is a little bit on front, but it's not covering too much. And on top, the joints are not that easy. Sometimes are crossing on front. You see there is one joint here. You don't want to paint this separated. You want to paint this all together, as you can see here. I keep just the head apart. Okay, the head is just out in separate, and also the shoulder pads, as I explained before. And then the shoulder pads will help me to eliminate this gap and other things. But you can see I can reach all the miniature very easily. I can paint the shoulder pads apart, and then I can paint also the head using the same technique that I'm using for the adjudicator, can be done apart. So what I mean here is, you see here two different strategies, but what I want to show is, if you see these two poses are almost the same. The only thing is I don't put the arrow that is crossing. I keep this part out because then I can paint very well the body. Okay, same for this guy. But then we go to one that is more complex, is this guy. You see that it's not arms at all. In that case, this is the, how it's called, is the one that is holding the banner. Is the 9 Vexillor, the Knight Vexillor, and have the banner in front of him. Okay, so this causes more problems because first the banner will go something like that. Okay, here in front. So I want to keep the banner separated. I assembled the parts of the banner. You see it's glued. I will paint this. I gonna keep this part of the sprue to help to holding the banner. Okay, so you see the banner is quite big, but I want to keep it separated because their arms will be crossing in front of the body, and I don't want. Yeah, I know that some parts will be hidden, but I want to be free to paint everything. I don't want to have a part that will not help me to paint, or will make my paint more difficult. And that way I can reach the parts much easily. Let me just look for the parts. I put the parts here in front. So you see, this is the arm, goes really, I hope you can see, goes crossing all on front. So I wanted to keep here separate. I will separate from the sprue to paint. Most likely I will do like I did on that other arm. You see, this is take out of the sprue. Okay, but I keep a piece of sprue, in that way I can manipulate. You see, this arm goes here. I prefer to keep all, in that case, unglue it, paint the body, paint all these parts very easily, paint all separated very easily, and then glue it together and do the final touches, as you can see here. Also the backpacks, and this also applies to Space Marines or anything that have backpack. I keep them unglued, that's on purpose. This backpack is going to go here. I know that I will cover most of the back of this guy. Okay, I understand that point. But on the other side, having this at the back, it's making me difficult to paint this part, because this part is going to be visible anyway. And having it separated, I can paint all this, sorry, I'm getting out. All this can be painted very easily, because it's not glued anywhere, so I don't have anything that is blocking my brush way. Okay, so I keep this separated as well. Keeping this separated, I can do the runes very well on both sides. While this is glued, the inside runes are going to be quite difficult to reach. I will not have a good direction. They will be visible because they are visible, but you don't have a good way to reach them. So it's always important that you take the parts, look how they assemble, and before gluing anything, just check how they will look like assembled, and if you will be able to reach all the different parts. This way, in the case, I just glued the legs, I glued the body, everything on the base, okay? But all the other parts that are wrong and can make difficult my assembly are not assembled, are not glued. So this is another tip. So always, before assemble, think twice how the different parts will go together. And then the final one, here we have another examples. These are difficult miniatures to paint unglued, or to paint before gluing. And I will explain why in this case. This one that comes from and this is the new technique that Games Workshop is using for some of the kits. The joints, they are in a very weird position sometimes. So you need to really glue them together to see how they look like. Because the head is part of another part that is here, and then if I don't glue everything together, I cannot work on that, because the joints are so strange that it's going to be difficult for me to have a vision of how this will look like. This will make some difficult parts that leaks here inside. So here inside I will give up and just put some purple or black inside. So there are points that are going to be difficult to reach. I get that. But on the other side, yeah, in that case, I don't have much more choices. So, but anyway, there is not parts impossible, and this part that is difficult to reach, it's not going to be real visible from front or from the back. And this small part here that have this thing, these are going to be painted easily. Um, Other parts on that, other thing that as you can see, there is no shield on these guys. Never assemble the shield. The shield is blocking a lot and is not covering most of the times. And you want to be able to reach the back of the shield. If the shield is assembled here, it's going to be very difficult to reach the back of the shield. And the back of the shield is going to be visible. When you put the miniature like that, you will see the back of the shield. But on top, you will not be able to reach because the brush have not a good direction to reach that. So shields, don't assemble them until they are painted. Or at least until you have played base colors plus a wash, and then you do the highlights when they are assembled. So I think here I'm covering most of the details. I will also show, I show some of the other cases. Let me. We have another case of a chaos cultist. This thing can be put here. With one hand it's going to be difficult, no, but you can put this here very easily, and then remove it, and you don't need to glue anything here. So only glue it at the end once you have painted the body. Because if you put this here in front, tell me, you will see. Let me see if I can do it with one hand. It's going to be quite difficult with one hand. Okay, now it's put with more or less. But you see that once it's in place, this is going to block almost everything. It's going to be difficult to paint this. If I remove that, you have clean access to everything. These guys you need to assemble. There is no way that you can assemble. You see the joint, it's going to you have part of the head, so you need to assemble this. It makes some difficulties because you have the knife in front of part of their cloth, but it's not impossible. There are some cases that you don't have choices, you need to assemble them. But when you have two weapons, one weapon of each hand, makes life much easier. And I'm pretty sure maybe some of them are not even glued, so this can be put together very easily. So these are the cultists, or some of these miniatures can be sometimes tricky. But as I say, analyze. For example, this position is not a big deal to paint this. Okay, you can assemble it all together. It's not going to be a big deal to paint it, to be fair. So in that case, you can put all the parts together and you can paint it. But even in that case, I stopped the camera because it was easy for me to remove it. Even in that case, you see, I can remove. I didn't glue the pistol because why you want to glue it? It can be held very easily there with this pin that is coming with the miniature. So just don't glue it, put it there, fix it, paint everything, and once it's painted, then I recommend to glue to avoid that you will lose this in future. So these are some tips and some tricks that sometimes people overlook. We jump very straightforward to assemble everything. We want to assemble, we want to have them ready to paint. Check before assembling everything together. Make a look and check how you're going to access, how you're going to paint every part of the miniature. Think a little bit. You have to play some strategy always when painting. You have to think how all the parts will come together and if you will have access or not to the different parts. Because there are parts that you will have very difficult access but are going to be visible and going to be in the middle of the miniature. So you want to work this before you get in a bad situation that you cannot reach some parts. And that's all for now. These are some tips that I wanted to share with you on the assembly and on preparing your miniature for the painting. I hope this is helpful. I hope this especially for people starting is helpful. And let me know what do you think and show me what is your strategy when painting miniatures. Do you assemble everything together? Or you first analyze and you check if the parts are going to be blocking or not. That's all for now. As usual, thanks a lot for watching and see you again later. Bye.